Hey, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss the 2009 book, The Last Olympian. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Last Olympian, written by Rick Riordan. This is the fifth and final book in the original Percy Jackson and the Olympians books. This book is very important because it leads right into the next Percy books, which are the Heroes of Olympus. The Prophecy of the Seven that we know from the Heroes of Olympus books, the 5 books that those are, is initiated by Rachel Elizabeth there in the end of this book. So it's very overlappy, right? We have Kane Chronicles right after this, mixed in with Heroes of Olympus, mixed then afterwards with Magnus Chase, mixed in with Trials of Apollo. It's just one overlap after the other. Incredible. So this book starts out a week before Percy's birthday. We know his birthday's in August. We know it's in the summer, but we're never actually given a correct date until the very end of the book. August 18th, Percy Jackson's birthday. Eat your blue cupcakes, share accordingly. So Percy is borrowing Paul Blofus's, his stepdad's Prius to take Rachel Elizabeth there. This is a week before his birthday. To a beach on the South Shore of Long Island. And then all of a sudden, Blackjack, his Black Pegasus, comes swooping down with Charlie Beckendorf on top. And Beck says, hey, stuff's going down. We got to take care of it. So then Charlie and Beck and Percy go to the Princess Andromeda, the cruise ship that's housing all these monsters, and Kronos being Luke Castellon. And the plan is to blow the ship up. But in the process of blowing the ship up, Charlie gets blown up. Percy is saved because he's the kid of the sea god, so he's, not affected from the water, but Charlie sacrifices himself. So it's a big thing. Beck is dead in the beginning of this book, and you're like, wait, what? There's so much death in this book. It's incredible for that sense of pulling at the heartstring, but realizing sacrifice and realizing the good of the campers kind of a thing. But it's still sad because you're growing with these characters. This is the 5th book in this series. So it's 5 years you're with these characters, and then all of a sudden Charlie Beckendorf is dead, and you're like, what's going on right now? So there's a funeral shroud. Selena Beauregard is devastated, daughter of Aphrodite, Charlie's girlfriend. Head counselor of the Aphrodite cabin. So there's a lot of stuff going on. The campers are trying to figure out what to do next with Charlie's sacrifice. They know that there's a spy in the camp who's feeding information to Luke, to Kronos, but what else is going on? Chris Rodriguez is now not brainwashed anymore, thanks to Dionysus. He's now dating Clarice LaRue, which is hysterical because Clarice is this badass Aries girl, and then she's just dating Chris Rodriguez of all people. Whatever. Ethan Nakamura is still, yes, sir, yes, my lord, to Luke, Kronos. So then 2/3 of this book takes place in Manhattan. It takes place, battles of Manhattan. Percy then goes down to his dad's palace, where Tyson, his cyborg, I can't talk, his Cyclops brother, there we go, is helping defend the palace from Oceanus, who was one of the original ocean gods, hence the name where ocean comes from. So Poseidon's just getting old and withered because Oceanus is trying to regain the power, regain the strength back. So there's war going on in the sea. Typhon is going across America, bringing destruction with him as the Olympians face him. So who's the last Olympian? The last Olympian, we find out after Percy and company and campers go into Manhattan to try to figure out what to do to protect Olympus, which is on the 600th floor of the Empire State Building in Midtown Manhattan. Hestia, the goddess of the hearth, she is the last Olympian. So Percy has a nice heart-to-heart with her, tries to figure out different things. There's plans of attacks going into effect. Talia Grace is bringing her Hunters of Artemis into the fold. Chiron brings his party pony brother in, the centaurs that they are, half man, half horse, from all over the different chapters of the country to Manhattan. There's a lot of different things happening in Manhattan, but while this is happening, Percy originally had gone, before any of this happened, Percy and Nico D'Angelo, the son of Hades that we all know and love, the god of death for that matter, the king of ghosts as he's proclaimed himself, he is trying to convince Percy to do something that Luke did in order to gain immortality. Luke bathed in the river Styx in order to river Styx? I think it was the river Styx. You swear on the river Styx. I think you have to bathe in the river Styx too. There's like 7 rivers in the underworld. I might have confused something. I think it's the river Styx. I'd have to look that up again. But anyway, when you bathe in it, and if it doesn't kill you, you gain immortality, and that's what Achilles did. That's why Achilles' weak spot was his heel. That's how he died, because he was shot in his heel. Luke's weak spot, we learn later on, is under his left arm. And then Percy had to get a blessing from his mom in order to have the river Styx do the thing, basically not kill him. So his is now in the small of his back, so opposite the belly button. That's kind of where he explained it. But how did Nico had a theory that if Percy did this, he would be okay. He just needed the blessing of Sally, his mom, after they talked to May Castellan, Luke's mom. Now, Luke's mom tried to become an oracle of Delphi, which is the oracle that resides in the mummy above the attic in the big house at Camp Half-Blood on the North Shore of Long Island. There's all your plot points. So, because May Castellan went a little crazy because she couldn't hold the oracle of Delphi, Hermes was always trying to take care of her, but in the same process, Hermes knew Luke's future. Hermes knew Luke would turn into Kronos, but Hermes could never stop Luke because gods can't interfere with their kids', fate. So that's why Luke always resented his dad, because his dad never loved him, because his dad never cared, but his dad knew that he couldn't interfere with what Luke was doing, but Luke just wanted support. He's being raised by this crazy woman who his father was well aware of. That's why Luke ran away. That's why Luke found Talia. That's why Luke and Talia found Annabeth. So it was very hard for Luke to, think anything aside from the gods are just evil, evil, evil. I'm going to side with the Titans, as Prometheus explained, that there's always been gods and Titans wars going on. So after Nico and Percy shadow travel, which is pretty cool with Mrs. O'Leary the Hellhound, to Connecticut to talk to May Castellan, got the story from May that she gave Luke permission. Nico's like, haha, I knew it. They go get the permission from Sally. They go to the underworld, bathe him in the river Styx. He survives, and then he becomes immortal. Not immortal, but impervious to damage, minus the small of his back. So there's 3 different battles that happen in Manhattan via the course of this war, now a couple days before Percy's 16th birthday, August 18th. And that's when the prophecy is, the great prophecy of a child at the big 3, reaches the age of 16, has the potential to destroy or save Olympus, essentially. So, death left and right, and then all of a sudden you have Selena Beauregard pretending she's Clarisse LaRue with her electric stick and helmet and trying to charge, and then she gets killed, and it's just death everywhere. It's very upsetting. I was very upset when Ethan Nakamura died too, because he was very conflicted with, his god's nemesis, and she stands for balance and justice, but the god's never shown justice because I only found out recently my mother was who she is, and she obviously doesn't care about me. That's why there's no cabin for me at camp, things like that. So the final battle at the end, you have Luke versus Percy, which you always assume is going to be. Rachel comes back from her vacation. She's trying to become this oracle because she keeps seeing stuff, and she tells Percy that he's not the hero that saves everyone. And Percy didn't understand that, and he was very upset that he was not the hero, basically. Grover's leading all the satyrs to charge. All these things are happening. Annabeth gets hurt. The kids take up at the Plaza Hotel for quite some time, which I thought was pretty entertaining for two days worth of battling, and the lobby of the Empire State Building. But you have Luke/Kronos versus Percy. Both are bathed in the river Styx. Both have that, invincibility type of aspect. So Percy and Annabeth realize that Luke is still kind of in there. He's still kind of in Kronos. And at one point, Annabeth gives him her sword, her knife, which is the knife that Luke gave her many, many years ago to defeat monsters when they were kids on the street. She was 7, he was 14, Talia was 12. And by Annabeth giving Luke the knife, Luke stayed as Luke and not Kronos, stabbed himself under the arm, where his mortal spot was left after bathing in the river Styx, and then evaporated. Kronos, he was half charred, Luke Castellan talking to Annabeth, talking to Percy, you know, dying, and Luke making Percy promise that, you know, he'll make sure that the gods claim their kids, that they are not, you know, just thrown to the wayside and forgotten like Luke was. Even though Luke kind of wasn't, but he kind of was at the same time. It's a duality. The gods and goddesses are dualities. It's very interesting putting it at that point. Percy promised, Luke dies. Everybody, this is all happening in Mount Olympus, in the council chambers, mind you. The 12 Olympians come back. Hades comes in with Nico after Nico stands up to his father many times, trying to get information about his mom, Maria D'Angelo. And then both of them lead the charge of the underworld, zombies and ghosts, if you will, to help fight at the Battle of Olympus. So you have all of these major gods and goddesses in the council chambers, and Zeus flat out tells Percy, you know, with all of your heroics, we're offering you immortality as a god. Percy says no, and he says, this is what I want instead. Now that's big dick energy as far as I'm concerned, right? Hashtag BDE, that is badassery for all of the memeing out there. It is pure slap to the face. Zeus, the almighty Zeus says you can be a god, and you say no. This is what I want instead. And it's pretty selfless. It's a pretty selfless act on Percy's front. He's promising, he's living up to Luke's promise, and says that he wants the gods to promise that they will claim their children before the age of 13, so that way they can come to camp, they can train, they can be safe, they can be loved and cared for, and not think that they've been abandoned as years and decades and centuries passed. The gods kind of are like iffy about it, but like Percy's not asking for much. He's not asking to be a god. He just wants the parents to claim their kids. That's it. So it's pretty cool. He has heart-to-heart with Hermes at some point. He has a heart-to-heart with Athena at some point. At the end, you know, as the epilogue, there's like 3 chapters of epilogue, which is pretty neat. You don't really see that often. Rachel Elizabeth Dare becomes the new Oracle of Delphi with the help of Apollo. That was pretty neat, because then now that I've read the Trials of Apollo books, like I know that like her and Apollo teaming up at the very end is pretty important with Python, but we'll get to those again. So it was fun having Annabeth and Percy have their underwater kiss in the lake, you know, finally getting together, solidifying that stuff, because it was always like, is Percy going to date Rachel? Is Percy going to date Annabeth? And now Percy is with Annabeth, and Rachel's just like, no, like, you're cool, but like, this is what I got to do. I got to be the Oracle. So it's pretty neat that, seeing that. It was fun. It wasn't fun, but it was good seeing the different campers having the burial shrouds for Selena, for Ethan, for Luke. You know, Luke died a hero, not a villain, because he did wind up disintegrating Kronos. Selena died a hero, even though she was the spy of the camp. She did die a hero because she was trying to save everybody and confessed, you know, this is what Luke tried to convince me was right and stuff like that. So it was neat then having the minor gods and goddesses getting cabins built in the camp. That was pretty cool. Nico coming together with some zombie workers, building a cabin for Hades, which was pretty cool. There's just a lot of nice epilogue of this. It's a very calm epilogue. Like I said, there's like 3 chapters of epilogue, and then the very end is the bead ceremony. The kids are getting the new beads. Percy's like, wow, like I've been here for 4 years. Like this is a long time. 5 books, 4 years. Annabeth gives him a blue cupcake saying happy birthday. It's August 18th. Technically, it's your birthday. He's like, wow, like, yeah, like this morning is when I had Luke, you know, with the knife killing himself to save everybody. So the prophecy was fulfilled on his birthday. But then Rachel Elizabeth Dare, after she gets the spirit of the Oracle, brings out the new prophecy of 7 half-bloods shall answer the call, which is the Heroes of Olympus books, which are massive compared to the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books. Like, the Percy books are like, meh, and the Heroes books are like, meh, like textbooks. So it's going to take us a while to get through those. I got a stack of books to get through before we talk about other stuff. But this is a great ending of the 5, just because it alludes to more, yes, but Percy's, like, content, and he's happy, and he says, yeah, like, we raced back, and what's the last line? I don't want to paraphrase. It's like page 381. Racing to the road, I said, you are so going to lose. She, Annabeth, took off down Half-Blood Hill, and I sprinted after her. For once, I didn't look back. The end. It's simple, cute, adorable. I loved it. This series changed the landscape when it came to mythos. And it has been always a hot debate, Harry Potter versus Percy Jackson. Percy has always been, as far as I'm concerned, the better of the two. Despite that the two movies, were god-awful. Perfect cast, awful screenwriting of a story. But that's why Rick Riordan, working specifically on the pilot for the Percy Jackson and the Olympians TV show on Disney Plus, is a big deal. Big deal. That's why Harry Potter was so successful, because J.K. Rowling, the author of the book, she's an awful human, but she was very active in the screenplays of the movies. That's why the movies were so successful, because it was very authentic to her work. Now that Rick Riordan, the author of the Percy Jackson books, is a part of the actual writing process of the Percy Jackson TV show, this is going to be incredible. And it's Disney. Can you imagine a decade from now going to Disneyland or Disney World or Disneyland Paris or Shanghai or Hong Kong or Tokyo, any of the Disney parks, and going to Camp Half-Blood? Literally going to Camp Half-Blood, or going to Olympus, or going to Camp Jupiter. Like, obviously Camp Jupiter's a Heroes of Olympus thing, but Disney's very well versed in making worlds, right? Making lands. So I would love to go. It wouldn't be called Percy Jackson Land. That would be stupid. You'd call it Camp Half-Blood or Mount Olympus. It'd be so epic. Being on a Percy Jackson ride, the merch, seeing everybody walk around with orange Camp Half-Blood t-shirts, I would lose my mind. I'll be an old person 10 years from now. Let's put it that way. But I will still lose my mind that a book in 2005, when I was 15 years old, just changed that landscape. So Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the last Olympian 2009 book, incredible. Happy birthday, Percy. I mean, happy future birthday. But I'm so glad that it culminated on August 18th as the prophecy foretold. So awesome. Many more book reviews to come. Mucho mahalo.